Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, back with another Lunalight Orcust combo tutorial video. This one is going to be showcasing routes specifically into Nyarla and Azathot so that you can play around hand traps better. Obviously with Nibiru coming out, we need to be cognizant of that, especially if we are going first. But additionally, we want to just be wary of the other hand traps that are present in the format, with cards like Ogre being picked up in popularity, Ash still being played, cards like Impermanence and Veiler still being out there. Obviously this doesn't stop Impermanence, but still need to be mindful of everything that could possibly happen. So yeah, we are going to be talking quite a bit about like the hand traps we want to play around. Obviously I'll be showcasing and demonstrating certain combos, but there's a lot of complexity as far as what cards are available to you if you do get hand trapped along the way in some of these combos, and what you can do to possibly alleviate or predict certain hand traps. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the combos here. Alright guys, so this is going to be the first combo, and it is a variation of Chick and Tiger where it's a pretty minimalistic setup. So all you really need for this combo is any monster that doesn't really have value when you discard it, because you need Nyarla to have a monster in graveyard to use its second effect. And the reason why using Nyarla's second effect is important is because if, say, you don't have either of these cards, you do your play with Chick and Tiger, right? You normal Chick, dump Martin, Tiger brings it back, and then you make Nyarla and Azathot. Your materials are now stuck underneath the Azathot, and unless you have another extender, you can't get them out. So it's pretty important that you are able to either have an extender for that play to link away stuff, or that you are able to have a monster to freely discard. So we're going to assume that this monster isn't an extender in any meaningful capacity, and it's just something to be able to trigger Nyarla's effect to get our stuff into the graveyard. And then you need another card to be able to discard off the Serenade Dance that we're going to be using in this combo. So that one can be just any card. It is worth noting, by the way, that as weird as it might sound, sometimes it's better to just not go for Nyarla Azathot. I know that sounds really weird, right? But if you're not specifically trying to play around Nibiru, which I'm talking more about game 1 in this case because most people don't mean that card, but if it is a bit too resource intensive for you to go for Nyarla into Azathot because of the fact that like you are susceptible to getting hand trapped in a bit of a different choke point, like Ogre becomes more prevalent, like if you get Veilered on Nyarla, that kind of can suck. Just be mindful of that if like you would rather get Veilered on like say a 4-Strix play than like a Nyarla, because then you won't be able to do anything. So yeah, just keep that in mind that like sometimes it actually can be better to just straight up go for like a normal line where you start off with 4-Strix and stuff. Yeah, let's just go through this combo. You're gonna normal summon Kaleido Chick and dump Yellow Martin. You're going to scale the Tiger, bring back the Martin, and then you're going to overlay into your copy of Nyarla. Nyarla's first effect is going to trigger by discarding a card to increase its rank. The increasing rank that obviously does not matter. And then Nyarla's second effect is going to target the Kaleido Chick as activation requirement, and then on resolution you are going to detach these as part of the effect, and then reattach the Kaleido Chick as Xyz material. This will trigger the effect of Yellow Martin to go ahead and add ourselves the Serenade Dance. And this is why I say that like if this gets Veilered, that kind of sucks, right? Because now these materials are still stuck underneath it and you haven't really gotten anywhere. If the monster that you discard is like an extender, like say Jackalope, Tsuchinoko is a little bit awkward because it still has, like it still will leave your graveyard empty because it summons itself. But like cards like Nessie or even like another Yellow Martin will help you be able to play through that. But just keep in mind like what you can play through and what you can't. Like when you're looking at your opening hand, it's very important that you ask yourself, what can I play through and what do I lose to? Because if you're going to lose through certain things if you go for like this combo line, and it's safer to just go for 4-Strix, sometimes that is definitely possible, so you want to be able to account for that. Now let's talk about Ghost Ogre for a bit here. So if this gets Ghost Ogred, then you're going to be left with Chick and Martin on your board without a Tiger. In which case, again, ignoring the rest of the other cards in your hand, you can go for an Orcust play, or if you have another way into Tiger, you can do that and then just do like a 4-Strix line or this line. If you have like random extenders, you could possibly go for Curious. honestly just depends on what you have available to you in your hand, and I cannot stress that enough. Like, you have to look at your hand, you have to be able to adapt based on what you get, how you get hand trapped. If they leave this alone and they ogre this instead, then you're basically left with a just regular Orcust play as well, because you still have Martin's effect to bounce the Tiger. So it's pretty important that you know where you can get stopped and what happens as a result. Now this could even get ashed, right? Because like they might see, okay, he's gonna go into Nyarla, or into Azathot rather, so might as well ash when I still can. So if this gets ashed, then this actually affects the play a little bit as far as like how strong your Orcust play ends up being. So generally speaking, if you're hand trapping, or rather if you're going through the effort of going for Azathot just for an Orcust play to resolve, your hand probably wasn't that great to begin with. But like if this, if this gets ashed and like you're still going for the Orcust play, then that might be worth it, because the plays that you have with this setup are going to be more than just the Orcust combo. I know that sounds like a lot of things to take in, but essentially what I'm saying here is you have to weigh the sort of risk that you're taking as far as how much you're giving up to be safe around hand traps, which is its own risk in and of itself. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but like you have to kind of weigh how much you're giving up there to be able to like still create a board at the expense of, or rather like at the what's it called, like to be able to have the contingency of not dying to hand traps essentially. So enough of me rambling there, let's just go on and continue. So you're gonna summon your Azathot right here, and that's your 4th summon for the turn, so you're safe from Nibiru. You're gonna go ahead and use your Martin in graveyard to target the Tiger, bounce it to your hand, and then you can go ahead and use the Azathot and the Martin for your Nightmare Link 2 of choice, which you will link away instantly into a Mermaid. Mermaid's effect will discard the Serenade Dance, and now if you get Impermanence on this, then that does suck. You still have a rank 4 available because you have a Tiger summon and a Serenade Dance summon, so you could still go for that. It's not the greatest play, but you still have follow-up, and it just depends on what else you have in your hand at that point. But I mean, you will invest 4 cards into that play just to get a rank 4 with like just one single Impermanence. So that's why I'm saying there are some points where you have to kind of assess, like, is this really worth going for a hand trap, or like to try and just stop the hand traps when Impermanence could still stop your play. So keep that in mind, that sometimes it's just not worth it and you just want to try and play through the hand traps rather than like avoid them. Exception being Nibiru, of course. You kind of just have to respect that if it's like a game 2 or 3. But anyways, your Mermaid's going to go ahead and summon your Orcust Nightmare from your deck. Then you're going to rescale your Tiger and resummon your Kaleido Chick. You can also use Serenade Dance as well, so you can summon any Lunalight from your deck. You can summon Martin, you can summon Emerald Bird, or you can send Emerald Bird off of like a Kaleido Chick. Up to you. Would recommend trying to get a Martin into circulation though, because of the fact that this one's banished and you don't have a reliable way of triggering this anymore, simply because we used Nyarla already, so that's important to note. Now from this position, you have the Mermaid, you have 2 Lunalight names, and you have a Orcust Nightmare. There's several lines of play you can do. The first one involves rank 4 plus Topologic Bomber Dragon, so I'm just going to showcase this one. Alright, so you can go for any rank 4, and the one you summon could potentially matter. Because you're summoning Bomber Dragon, you have to keep in mind that like your board might be blown up in the process. You have some ways around that, which I'll get to later, but if this is something like an Evo Swarm Nightmare, you just have to be a little bit careful with how you're managing like Topologic Bomber Dragon yourself, or if your opponent can easily trigger it like with their special summons and stuff. So just keep that in mind. It might be safer to go this Abyss Dweller blind, or it might be safe to go for Nightmare depending on how you are approaching the meta. It always depends on what you're anticipating in a blind game 1 scenario for your meta call. It's very important to make the meta call ahead of time so you come into your games prepared to adapt to any situation. But anyways, you're going to go ahead and make Galatea with the Orcust Nightmare and the Nightmare Mermaid. Orcust Nightmare is going to banish itself from the graveyard to send the Harp Horror, which will immediately banish to summon your Symbol Skeleton. And you are going to link these 2 away into a copy of Elongirsu, which you need for the Topologic Bomber Dragon. And then your symbol is going to bring back the Galatea. Galatea can shuffle back this copy of Harp Horror. in order to set this copy of Orchestrated Babel, which you can activate. And then on top of your Galatea, you will overlay your Dingirsu, which will reattach your symbol. And then you'll use your Dingirsu and Longirsu to make Bombgirsu, or Bomber Dragon. So, this is your basic setup. Again, if this is Evil Swarm Nightmare, then you have to be a little bit careful, but the way you can mitigate your stuff being destroyed by your own means is when you go Symbol to revive Dingirsu on their turn. This is a mandatory trigger as Chain Link 1 and Dingirsu as Chain Link 2, so you can reattach your Symbol Skeleton as material, and then on resolution of Bomber Dragon, since your Dingirsu already has a material, you can use Dingirsu to save itself, or save your board, because it doesn't activate or anything, so it's just a continuous protection effect. So yeah, this is like Evil Swarm Nightmare, you can protect your board that way. If you feel like you're going to need to send off Dingirsu instead of to reattach, then you got to keep that in mind as well. It just kind of depends on what you're anticipating your opponent could potentially set up as their board. So this is one line of play. I'm going to rewind to the other game state that I was talking about previously and go for the other route. Alright, welcome back. So this is the game state that we had prior, which was the Mermaid up top. We had the two Lunalight names, we have Tiger obviously still chilling, and then we have the Orcust Nightmare here. So this line is actually quite a bit simpler, so you're going to use the Orcust Nightmare and the Mermaid straight away to go for your Galatea. And then your Galatea and your other two monsters, keep in mind they have to be different names for this next monster, which is Appaloosa, below the goddess, which is what you'll be summoning. And this will have 3 negations on it. I will represent here. So yeah, this is gonna have 3 negates, and then you still have the Orcust stuff, so you can banish the Nightmare, and you actually send the Symbol Skeleton, and the symbol will go ahead and bring back the Galatea. Galatea will shuffle back the Orcust Nightmare. It doesn't particularly matter, but you shuffle something back to go ahead and grab Crescendo. So this is a 3 negation Appaloosa with a Crescendo as opposed to the other board with Bomber Dragon. You'll notice that neither of these boards are particularly that strong, but again, you're sacrificing like max power in exchange for safety in your play. And at the end of the day, if you were trying to play around Nibiru, which is like the big one that can really just destroy you, then that's kind of what you have to sacrifice at some point. But I'm going to be showcasing as well other combos that are stronger than this one with certain starter cards. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, there's one more route that I actually forgot to do the first time recording this video, so I'm actually going back and recording this again. So when you're at this setup for the initial play, instead of doing like the Topologic Bomber combo, you can actually go for a variety of other rank 4 setups with just the normal Orcust combo, which in my mind was just like self-explanatory, but it didn't occur to me that I just forgot entirely to demonstrate those combos. So one route you can do is just go straight up into something like Evil Swarm Nightmare or Abyss Dweller or whatever, and then you just do your normal Orcust play. So you make your Galatea here with the Mermaid and the Nightmare. Banish Nightmare, banish Harp, summon your symbol, and then you can make a second Galatea. And then your symbol revives the first Galatea. And then you summon Dingirsu. Dingirsu's effect will reattach your symbol. And then your other Galatea will shuffle back the Harp and then set your Crescendo. But yeah, this is like the setup that you would be able to do with the this initial Chick Tiger with like 1 monster to discard, no extenders, etc, etc. So with that out of the way, I'm going to now showcase the Chick Tiger combo with an additional extender. So see you guys in just a bit. Alright guys, so this is another Chick Tiger variation with a variety of extenders. So I picked out a couple extenders here. Tsuchinoko is the most awkward one, so I'll talk about it later. But these two are very straightforward because they'll get you value and a guaranteed body once you pitch them off your Niarla, like we did in the previous variation. This one is a little bit weird because this requires another monster that you can pitch. you can summon this one. Like it could be like a spare Kaleido Chick, right? So that you pitch out the Nyarla and then you summon this by itself. But essentially what you need here is like an extender plus a way to get a monster into the graveyard. It sounds a little complicated, but actually a lot of hands achieve this. Your dangers help get there, and like it just depends on like how many other monsters you have at your disposal, as well as like if you need to use your danger effects in hand first to like, you know, get to these cards in the first place. So it definitely depends. You have to evaluate where you're at and how many cards you're able to discard. But keep in mind that you are going to need as well a spare card as well to discard. I forgot about that. So you need another card as well. But yeah, so like ideally one of these two. This is okay if you have another monster, but that's like 5 cards in your hand. So that's like a little bit unfortunate, but I mean it's okay if you invest every card because these boards will actually be a lot stronger than the other ones. So for the purposes of this combo, I'm gonna assume we have Jackalope because you know, it's good and I like it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this combo. So you're gonna start off the same way, normal summoning Kaleido Chick, sending your Martin. You're gonna Scale Tiger effect to target the Martin, and then you're going to overlay into your Nyarla. Nyarla's first effect is going to trigger here, and you're going to go ahead and discard your Jackalope. This triggers Jackalope effect. If that gets ashed, then you're basically just defaulting back to the same combo that you did that I just showed you just now. So that's not like the worst thing, not the best, but it's fine. So yeah, you're going to go ahead and use Nyarla's second effect to target the monster in your graveyard, reattach it, and detach these. Triggers Yellow Martin, so you go ahead and search your Serenade Dance. And then this is going to be your 5th summon. So this is going to be Azathot right here. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are your 5 summons. So play around Nibiru successfully, and the same things with Ogre and stuff apply, except you have now an additional body to work with. So again, it obviously just all depends on what cards you have available to you. I know it sounds obvious, but you have to really just look at your hand and see what can I do if I get stopped, what can I do if I don't get stopped, and then just kind of, you know, assess what your opponent might have, go from there. But anyways, you're going to use these 2 monsters right here to go into a Nightmare Link 2, and then go into a copy of Mermaid. Mermaid's effect is going to go ahead and pitch Serenade Dance. Here if you get impermanence, it's a little bit better because you have 3 summons now, and you're going to see that with what we do with this Martin here, it allows us to get like additional value, so we actually turn it into 5 summons. So it allows you to go into like Appaloosa and stuff pretty easily if like this gets stopped, which is a pretty good fallback option if you you know, if you do happen to unfortunately get impermanenced. But Mermaid is going to obviously summon your Orcust Nightmare from your deck. Yeah, these are still in frame, that's good. Alright, so yeah, what we're going to do now is use our Martin's effect in Graveyard to target the Tiger and return it to our hand, special summon it. Then we're going to rescale Tiger and use its effect to go ahead and bring back our Kaleido Chick. Kaleido Chick can go ahead and send, you know, basically whatever here. And at this point, we are going to go ahead and overlay for a copy of Raid Raptor Force Strix. Force Strix is pretty good in this combo because you are allowed to search yourself the Zephyrs. I think I set this up wrong actually. Yep, there we go. And Zephyrs is going to be what you discard for this copy of Serenade Dance here. So it gives you super good value, and if your Mermaid got stopped, you would have all this set up. This summons this. You'd have all the setup minus the Orcust, which obviously sucks, but you still have a decent amount of plays available to you. You still have you know, 2 more summons, so that's like not the worst thing. But anyways, what you're going to do here is use your Winged Beast, your Beast Warrior, and your Machine to go ahead and go for a summon of Curious the Lightsworn Dominion right here. And Curious is going to set, I always prefer setting Eradicator blind simply because I think that, you know, it's just really good coverage against the field right now, especially if people are training towards control decks. Curious is going to mill your 3 cards. Generally, these are not consequential to your combo. Only if you mill like every single Orcust, then that kind of sucks. Like if you mill Harp and Symbol and your other Orcust Nightmare, then that sucks. But or if like you draw a combination of those, but you do what you gotta do, and the chances of that happening is super unlikely. So you don't generally have to worry too much about that. But anyways, you're going to now use your Zephyros to bounce your Tiger, take 400, and then rescale your Tiger and bring back basically whichever Lunalight name you want. This allows you to go into a Nightmare Griffon with your Curious and one of those two monsters. And Griffon's effect is going to discard your random card and set your Eradicator. And you do actually get a free draw out of it, actually. So that's pretty nice. So yeah, you don't really lose a card from this, which is pretty good. So you'll still have, assuming that was your opening hand, which was like Chick, Tiger, Jackalope, you'll still end on like 2 cards in your hand to basically work with whatever. So that's pretty good here. And then now we're going to do some Orcust shenanigans. So Nightmare is going to banish itself, target whatever, send your Harp. Harp will go ahead and banish itself to summon your Symbol. And it's a little bit unfortunate because you have to kind of leave a zone, you know, sort of, what's the word? Vacant, I guess, for your Griffon, because you can't really block out effectively. Not with Mermaid at least, since Mermaid is reducing attack points, which interferes with Eradicator. But if you have a different like Floodgate set here, like Summon Limit, then like you could very well just leave your Mermaid there and block off that zone. But this is like specifically for Eradicator. So you made Galatea, gonna make another Galatea here, and then your Symbol will revive the first Galatea, and then you're going to summon Dingirsu. Dingirsu will reattach the Symbol skeleton. And I like to do all this before using the Galatea. I mean, you're already like with Azathot, so it's not like this is gonna go so or whatever, but just to be safe, doesn't hurt. So again, return that to reset, or to set your Orcust Crescendo. And that basically concludes it from here. You can also go for a Babel with this play if you wanted to, but it's, you know, not necessarily. It's not necessary. It depends on what you feel is needed, like to be able to stop your opponent. Like you could make the argument that Symbol Revived Dingirsu can like send whatever like your opponent summons to the extra monster zone if they like try and you know, make a play there. But that is entirely your discretion. So yeah, you basically have the Eradicator to tribute this off. You have Omni Negate and you have Griffon, or you have Ascend with you know, Babel, Symbol, Dingirsu. So yeah, that's one way you can approach this, and I'll showcase another way to do this later. Alright guys, so we've rewound to the point where we've just searched our Zephyros off the Force Tricks because we used our Martin's Effect Engrave to bounce a Tiger and then summon something else back. We also have our Orcust Nightmare and our Mermaid just chilling out here. So yeah, we're about to use our Serenade Dance in our graveyard to discard this Zephyros. And you'll notice we don't have the Called by Proxy in our hand anymore. We don't need any discards for any of these plays. So we're going to summon our Emerald Bird here. And then Zephyros will bounce our Tiger, summon itself back. And Tiger will be rescaled to bring back any Lunalight name. Right, just make sure that these are different names, just to make things easier for yourself. So now we have one of 3 different ways we can use Appaloosa with, and I'm just gonna show them all here, and like you'll be able to see like where I reset, but whatever. All right, so all these plays start out by you using the Mermaid and the Orcust Nightmare to summon a Galatea. Now the first option is to go for a rank 4 play here. You can summon any rank 4 that you will wish, right there. And then you will swap zones, extra monster zones, by using the Force Tricks, the Spare Name, and the Galatea to go for an Appaloosa here. This Appaloosa will have, ooh, hello. Sorry about that. 3 negations. And I didn't mess up the camera too badly. Alright, so yeah. Here we are going to now go for Orcust Nightmare in Graveyard, and instead of sending the Harp like we normally do, we are actually going to send a Symbol. And then Symbol will revive the Galatea, and then you can shuffle back, say, an Orcust Nightmare, and then set a Crescendo to your board. So this is a 3 monster negate, rank 4, and a Crescendo. So that's one route you can do. I'm going to quickly reset and showcase the other line you can do. Alright, so we're back with Galatea here. This, and yeah. Right, so, like I said, you're always going to start off with the Galatea there. But what you can do first is you can go for a 4 negation Appaloosa. So pick 4 monsters with different names and use the 4 Strix in the Galatea for Appaloosa. And this might seem like a bit of a waste because, you know, you're using a 2, like a Link 2. But we want a Galatea in the graveyard because we want Symbol to have value. Because it actually counts as more Link materials in the long run. Right, so you'll have the you'll have the Orcust Nightmare engraved. Which, oh yeah, I had it shuffled back from before. Alright, but yeah, your Orcust Nightmare will be engraved there. You'll banish it to send the Harp Horror, which you'll banish to summon your Symbol. You will make a Galatea here, and then your Symbol will revive the first Galatea. Right there. And then you will be able to summon the Dingirsu on top of the Galatea, and then attach a Symbol, and then use this Galatea to shuffle back like a harp, and then get yourself the Orcust Crescendo. So this is a 4 negation Appaloosa with a Crescendo plus a Dingirsu that can protect it. So that's kind of important because obviously if like you run through like say 2 negations, your opponent can maybe run it over in battle. This kind of stops that, so that's pretty good. And also Galatea can't be destroyed by battle as well, thanks to its own effect. So it's not like they can force that and like then just try and, you know, get rid of your monster for your Crescendo. So that's pretty good. The other option you can do is instead of this, you can go ahead and let's see, gotta backtrack all the way back. Alright, so this is a third option involving Appaloosa, and there's actually kind of 2 options bundled into one here. I just actually thought of this just now while recording. I'm doing a separate take now. Alright, so what you can do here is one of 2 things, and I know it like is kind of weird that I'm deviating here already, but it'll make sense later. So let's do the 4 material Appaloosa way first, and again it'll make sense, I promise. Alright, so let's make a 4 material Appaloosa right here in this zone. So there's that. And then your Nightmare will be engraved, sorry about that. You'll banish the Nightmare to send your Harp Horror, and then your Harp will go ahead and special your Symbol. And then what you do from here is you go ahead and make another copy of Galatea with those 2. Your spare monster and your Symbol. Your Symbol will go ahead and revive your first Galatea. You'll overlay for a Dingirsu, which will reattach your Symbol. And then this Galatea will shuffle back a Harp. And then you're actually going to go for a Babel instead of a Crescendo this time. So you're gonna go ahead and activate it. And then what you're gonna do from here is link these off, if you so want to do this play, into a long Yugioh. Now what this achieves is you have 4 negations off the Appaloosa, which is very good. You have a Symbol engraved to revive the Yugioh to send something. And then now that you have 2 banished machines, you can go ahead and use long Yugioh to send either whatever they put in this extra monster zone here, or the zone that Appaloosa points to. So it's pretty good setup there. Now the alternate route, which, you know, I said would make more sense later, is I'm just gonna quickly reset. So we had this, right? We had we had this. We had 4 materials for Appaloosa, 4 negations, and then we had just 1 monster. What if instead we did 3? So what that means is you'll have an extra monster right here. Keep in mind you'll always be using the 4 Strix Well, you don't always have to use it because you can just link away with that later on. But like, I don't know. I just tend to think of it. It makes more sense in my mind. Anyways, you have 2 extra monsters here, and what you'll do with the Nightmare is you will go ahead, send a harp special symbol, and then these make your second Galatea. And then what you can do is actually just go straight off into your Longyusu with those 2. And then afterwards, you would go ahead, banish your symbol, revive your Galatea. Galatea will send, like shuffle back in your harp. You'll go for Babel again, and then you overlay your Dengyusu and your symbol. So what this does is you have 1 less negate, but you are able to still use Dengyusu to protect your board, like say if Appaloosa were to be run over in battle, which is pretty good. Downside is that this Longyusu actually isn't alive right now, and your symbol is underneath your Dengyusu, which is why I showcased the first line prior to this, the one with the 4 material Appaloosa, because like you're more able to readily set up the Longyusu play. So yeah, you can also just go for the previous setup that I showed you with just going for Crescendo and having the Galatea and Dengyusu, and like that would also be fine. I feel like if you want to use Dengyusu to protect, that would probably be the ideal route. If you had extra Orcusts, then like this becomes a lot easier. Like if you have, if you say pitched harp somewhere along the way, then that's also pretty good. So like then you could go ahead and use World Wand and start doing shenanigans with that. Then this would be live a lot more readily. You also don't get the interrupt with this right away, so something to consider. Another thing you could do is instead of Babel, you could just go for Crescendo like this. It doesn't really do anything different. Like at that point, you might as well just have a Galatea and 4 for Appaloosa. So like this is just strictly worse. But, I just want to show you like Longyusu and its potential utility in combos like this. So yeah, next we'll showcase alternate variations with Chick and Perfume. Alright guys, this is going to be the Chick Perfume combos, and these ones are going to be more flexible, obviously because Perfume inherently just allows you to summon 1 extra monster than you normally would be able to, simply because obviously with its effect you get 1 and then you pitch it to search Tiger, which gets you back to the normal point where you would have with the Tiger. And the cool thing with this play is that even though normally the Perfume requires an extra discard to invest into it, you can actually make up for that lost card later, so you actually end up being net positive as compared to before. So if you wanted to go the Curious Griffon route, you're going to need 2 discards, but if you want to go for the other variety of plays I'm going to show you, then you only need 1 discard, which is just a monster, any monster here. Obviously if it's an extender, then we're going to other territory that we can discuss later on, but this is just going to be assuming that this monster doesn't actually contribute any inherent value to the combo. So this is going to be Chick Perfume once again routing into Nyarla and Azathot. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and start a combo. So you're going to start with a Chick normal summoned, and then you're going to send your Martin. You're going to activate your Perfume to special back the Martin, and then you're going to banish your Perfume actually right away. And then discard the monster, whatever, to add yourself the Tiger. This play is a little bit susceptible to Ash, but at the very least, if you do get Ash, then you know that you can at least have an Orcust combo here. So you have a little bit of a contingency there. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go into Nyarla. Nyarla's effect is going to target the monster that you pitched, and then detach the Yellow Martin as a effect, which triggers the Yellow Martin to search for a Serenade Dance. Something to note here is that if you wanted to, you could just utilize the Nyarla first effect to pitch the monster, if that monster is an extender, which I said I'd get to later, but I guess it's worth mentioning now. If you have a way to pitch, say, something like a Jackalope or a Nessie, and then get yourself a free extender to be able to do all of this with making Azathot prior to searching with your Perfume, then that's obviously much better, because then you are able to ensure that you get your Tiger search without being interfered by Ash. But again, we're assuming that we don't have anything like additional that would provide extra value, so we're just going to ignore those circumstances. But yeah, so Martin has searched your Serenade Dance, so you can just freely go ahead and summon your Azathot right here. Then from here, you are going to scale your tiger back, and then summon your Kaleido Chick. Chick can send pretty much whatever you want. You can send another Martin if you wish here. Up to you. You can send whatever Lunalight you play. That's cool too. You can go ahead and go for your Orcust play into your Mermaid. Pitch your Serenade Dance, and then special summon your Orcust Nightmare. And then from here, you can use your Martin's effect Engrave to bounce the tiger back, special summoning itself, and then rescale the tiger to bring back the Kaleido Chick right there. And this is where I mentioned before, we're going to get the extra card that we lost to the Perfume, and that is by summoning the Force Tricks right here. So we lose effectively a material because you have to consolidate 2 of them to make the Force Tricks, but you gain an extra 2 materials because of Zephyrs. So essentially, like, you're gaining an extra material that you wouldn't have otherwise had, which is why it's worth going for that play afterward. You're going to banish the Serenade Dance to pitch the Zephyrs, and then you can special summon whatever Lunalight monster from your deck. What you can do here is, where is it? Right. Yeah, you're going to make Galatea with the Orcust Nightmare and the Nightmare Mermaid. You can now use your Zephyrs in graveyard to bounce back your tiger, and rescale your tiger and bring back your Kaleido Chick. And then from here you can do a multitude of things. So first you can make a rank 4 of choice, whichever one you want. You're not locked into Darkset, so you can summon like Dweller or whatever. And then from here you can just go ahead and make Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. This one will have 3 negations on it. And then it's pretty simple from here. You can go ahead, banish your Nightmare. You don't want to link anything away. If you send Harp to special symbol, there's nothing to link away, so you're just going to send Symbol straight up. And then Symbol will be banished to revive your Galatea. Whoops. And then Galatea will shuffle back your Orcust Nightmare to set your Crescendo. So here you have 3 monster negations, whatever rank 4 of choice that you want, and the Omni negate from Crescendo. So that's pretty good. The other route you can take is, I will just quickly backtrack here. So instead of this, you had basically this going on here. So what you can do is you can actually go Appaloosa for 4. Right here. So you have 4 negations on it, and then with this is obviously not there. With your Orcust Nightmare, that should be engraved. Sorry that this isn't super organized, but now at this point you can opt to send the Harp, which I think I put up here. Yep. And then you can go ahead and banish it to special your symbol, and then these 2 become your second copy of Galatea. And now you can symbol bring back the first Galatea, and then overlay your Dingirsu. Dingirsu will attach the symbol, and then your Galatea will go ahead and shuffle back the Harp, and you'll get the Crescendo. So this leaves you with not the rank 4, but you do have an extra negation off Appaloosa, and Dingirsu can protect it, which I think is, you know, pretty good if you're ending on an Appaloosa board. You want to be able to protect it from just being run over in battle. You don't have to waste any materials on your Galatea, which is nice because it can't be killed in battle anyway. So yeah, it's hard for them to kind of push through this. Depending on the deck, like if you're against Pendulum, for example, Evil Swarm Nightmare is very, very much good, and I would probably recommend it over this. It kind of just depends again on your meta call. Can't stress it enough. You definitely just need to make sure you know what you're going into so you can prepare accordingly. Alright guys, so this is a variation of Lunalight Kaleido Chick plus Lunalight Perfume, and this is going to be the Curious Griffon route. You're going to need a random monster to discard as with the last combo, and also just any random card to be able to pitch off Griffon, which you will be able to draw back later because of the fact that Griffon will be co-linked. There actually is a way that I'm going to discuss to be able to play around Ash if you want to. I mentioned earlier just now with like the other chick tiger, or sorry, other chick perfume route, that this perfume is susceptible to getting ashed. You can play around that, which would require you to have a second discard in your hand. However, it's actually a little bit risky because not only do you need the second card, but you also, if you do get ashed, we will be not able to do the Curious Griffon route at all. You can do the other routes just fine, but if you want to do this route specifically, if you want to play around Ash, but they have the Ash, for like maybe an inoptimal time, but like if they still use it, then it won't bode well for you. But you'll see what I mean, and I'll explain it more as we get into it. But enough of me rambling, let's just go ahead and start. So we gotta go and summon our Kaleido Chick, as per usual. And we're gonna dump our Yellow Martin. Nothing too suspect here. Perfume is going to go ahead and activate to target the Martin and special summon it. Then we are going to go ahead and overlay our two monsters into our copy of Outer Entity Nyarla. So this is where you can play around Ash, but if you get Ash, it's a little risky. So what you could do, in theory, is go ahead and discard off the Nyarla effect, and then use Nyarla right here to target whatever monster that you discarded, and then trigger the Yellow Martin. Now if they Ash your Martin, then that's actually pretty bad, because you'll be down a card to because you're gonna be required to discard off this perfume. You'll usually generally like pitch the Zephyros off like this if you don't get a Serenade Dance here, and that's okay. But you'll need to be able to pitch for a Nightmare Mermaid play as well as the Curious route, and that is usually just too much to be able to handle if you do get stopped there. So while that is a line, if you get Ashed, you're missing the Serenade Dance. So like you'll have to like ditch this or discard earlier, and then your Zephyros will kind of be stranded in your hand at not the right time because you won't be able to make Griffon. So like there's a lot of things to consider there, but if you are confident that your opponent won't Ash your Martin, which admittedly is a little bit risky, you could go ahead and try for it. But the other way you can do is just hope that your opponent just doesn't have Ash at all, which sort of defeats the purpose of the Nyarla in general into Azathot. So do keep that in mind, that it's a little bit suspect as far as what you're going to be going for with just certain lines of play that you're choosing to do. There's another way that you can do this where you just straight up go into Azathot. If you have a Lunalight to specifically discard off the perfume, that way you can like Tiger bring back the Lunalight and just go from there. But again, we're assuming we don't have extenders, and like you need to be able to assess which extenders you have. I think I've said that about 20 times in this video, but I'll say it again. You need to evaluate your hand, see where you can go based on what disruptions you lose to and what you can play through, and then just basically go from there. But enough of that. Let's just go ahead and do the play that is highest value. So the highest value play would be to go for the perfume, immediately to discard your random monster that again doesn't contribute any value to your play, and you're going to go ahead and grab yourself a that's not right, a copy of Tiger right here. So anyway, now you're going to use Nero's effect to detach these two as an effect to go ahead and reattach the monster as material. This way you can trigger your Yellow Martin, and now you're going to go ahead and search yourself for the Serenade Dance. And then after this, you're going to overlay your Outer Entity Azathot onto your Nyarla. So that is pretty good right there. You're going to scale your Lunalight Tiger and bring back whichever Lunalight monster you want. You can go ahead and send something. It's not entirely consequential, but you can do it if you want. At this point though, you are going to go ahead and use these two monsters, the Azathot and your Lunalight, to go into your Nightmare Link 2 monster into a Nightmare Mermaid. Mermaid's effect is going to discard the Serenade Dance, and you are going to special summon yourself the Orcust Nightmare. Let's put it over here to spice things up a bit. I'm gonna move these things over a bit though. Yeah, so now you have the Yellow Martin engraved that you haven't used yet, so you're going to use it now. Target the Tiger to bounce it back to your hand, special summon the Martin in defense. Then you're going to use your Tiger to bring back the Lunalight Kaleido Chick. You can choose to send something here if you want to. It's not like hugely consequential, but you can go ahead and like send another Yellow Martin if you want off this Collider chick, or off the last one. Even like it doesn't particularly matter too much, but it is up to you. We're gonna use these 2 monsters to go ahead and make ourselves a copy of Raid Raptor Forstrix, which you will use its effect to detach and search yourself a copy of a Blackwing Zevros the Elite. Next up, you're going to get this Zevros into your graveyard by banishing the Lunalight Serenade Dance that you had searched prior, and go ahead and pitch the Zevros to special summon out your spare Lunalight name. Then you're going to use the Lunalight name alongside the Forstrix, and the Orcust Nightmare to go for your copy of Curious the Lightsworn Dominion. Curious's effect is going to trigger, and you will now send whichever card of choice. I'll be using Eradicator in these instances, which can sort of differ because of the tribute requirement, but it is up to you on what you want to send here, and you have more flexibility if you're choosing to not send Eradicator, but I personally do like to use Eradicator as was shown in my deck profile, so that's what I'm going to use for the sake of this video, but you have just more options available to you actually if you don't send Eradicator. But you're going to mill your 3 random cards. The only way this can really mess you up is if you mill every Orcust name, but that's not a big deal because you actually don't really get like too much good value out of your symbol in a lot of cases. I mean, you can use your symbol if you like mill it with all your other Orcusts, which I mean it does suck, but you can use your Harp later once you use Galatea, so like it's not the worst scenario. But you haven't used Zephyrs yet, so you're going to use Zephyrs in Graveyard to go ahead and bounce your Lunalight Tiger and special summon itself. And then you are going to reskill your Lunalight Tiger, and that was a hard tap. I'm sorry, Lunalight Tiger. Anyway, you're going to go ahead and now use your Tiger's effect to bring back whatever Lunalight name. Then you can go ahead and use Curious and a monster to go ahead and summon yourself a Nightmare Griffon and use the final blank in your hand to pitch and set yourself the set Eradicator, and you're going to draw yourself a card in the process. And next up, you are now going to go into your Orcust cards because we haven't used them yet. So you're going to go Nightmare, dump Harp, banish your special symbol, and then you're going to link these 2 away into your first Galatea, and then you're going to link these 2 away into your second Galatea. You are now going to symbol revive the Galatea by banishing itself from the graveyard. And then you will now overlay your Ningirsu over here and reattach the symbol. And then finally you're going to use Galatea's effect to shuffle back the Harp. And you can go for either the Crescendo or the Babel, it is up to you. Because in this combo you have the Galatea, which actually should be over here, not over there. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you can go for either one of these because you have the Galatea to make the Crescendo live, but also you have Symbol and Girsu ready, so depends on the matchup, but generally this is like pretty safe if you want to go for that route. But that's what I'm gonna be demonstrating here. And that's pretty much it. So you will have the Eradicator to descend. Granted, your Griffon will be pointing to this extra monster zone so they can actually take advantage of it, so do be wary of that. The cool thing is that if you don't choose to send Eradicator, you'll have this blocking the zone, so that's pretty cool, and it protects your board. So like if you want to send a specific Floodgate, then that's pretty nice. Something like a summon limit, it wouldn't be too bad there. But yeah, that's it for the Curious Griffon route for this play. And next up we'll be showing the extenders for real. Alright guys, this is the last series of combos that I'm going to be showcasing, which will involve the Chick Perfume route, an actual meaningful extender, which can either be in the form of what you pitch for Nyarla, or if your extender isn't like, you know, it's something like maybe a Tsuchinoko that leaves the graveyard empty. If you have another card to pitch off that works, although that would require all 5 cards in your hand. But you would need another card to pitch in this case, simply because you are using your discard not for the Perfume search, but for your extender. So like you're trading off there, but in exchange you can end on 1 extra material. So that's kind of like it's trading one extra card in your hand for an extra material on board, so I think that's like a fair enough reason to showcase this combo off. Because a lot of people obviously don't like 4-card combos and even 3-card combos, which I'll agree, you know, it's not great to look at in a vacuum. But realistically speaking, because the pool of cards is so wide, like this is searchable in a multitude of ways. It gets a little hairy if like you need Foolish Goods to be able to search this. Like then this has to be like a Jackalope or a Nessie. But then like, you know, this isn't searchable, but like this can be any one of like many cards. And then this could be like literally anything, just a card to pitch. So like you have a lot of different variables, and again, just analyze your hand and see how far you can go. But this is just a template to work off of. So TLDR, check Perfume, extender that you can either pitch or like extender in tandem with a free monster discard, like so either 2 cards that fulfill separate roles or 1 card that fulfills both, like Nessie or Jackalope, and then any random card. So you're gonna start out by normal summoning Chick like always, and then you're gonna send your Yellow Martin. Perfume is going to bring back your Martin, and now you can hold the search to be able to play around Ash, and then just go straight into your Niarla. Niarla's first effect will trigger to pitch the extender. In this case, I'm just going to showcase Jackalope because it's the easiest. And then, you know, the effect will get your extender on board. Niarla's second effect will target your monster that you pitched, or like whatever lingering monster you got in your graveyard after resolving this whole thing. And then Martin will trigger to search your Serenade Dance. From here, your 5th summon will be Azathot. So again, we're always playing around Nibiru in these combos, so that's pretty good. Then you are now able to freely search without fear of getting ashed, so your Perfume can banish yourself to pitch your Serenade Dance, insert yourself your copy of Tiger. You're now going to go ahead, and use your extender alongside your Azathot to go for your Mermaid, obviously linked to into Mermaid. And then you're going to pitch your last card to special summon your Orcust Nightmare. Then you're going to start doing your Tiger stuff. So Tiger is going to activate, target the Kaleido Chick, special summon it. Chick will be able to send whatever you want, does not particularly matter. Martin will activate and bounce the Tiger to your hand and special itself. And obviously we can make up for the deficit of cards here by summoning our 4 Strix like last time. 4 Strix will be able to search ourselves the Zephyros, and now you can use your Serenade Dance that's in your graveyard, banish it, and pitch the Zephyros to go ahead and grab yourself another Lunalight name. And then from here, you're going to scale your Tiger once more and bring back your Kaleido Chick. So obviously you have like a billion options to go for, but I'm going to showcase the key difference between last time and this time, getting that 1 extra extender. So like your board options are largely the same. There's just one key difference in the Curious Griffon route, which I'll showcase, and then there is this route, which is like the more like, I guess you could say, conservative route, if you will, the route that a lot of people prefer. So you can make Galatea with your Orcust Nightmare and your Nightmare Mermaid, excuse me. So this will become your rank 4 here. And then you can go ahead and use your Zephyros that you haven't used yet. Bounce your Tiger, rescale Tiger, use it to summon back your other Lunalight. That's why it's important to like send stuff if you're like overlaying your Kaleido Chick. Just, you know, be careful. Then you can go ahead and use 3 of these materials for a 3 mat Appaloosa. Or 3 negation Appaloosa, I should say. And then what you're going to do now is banish your Orcust Nightmare. So like the thing you want to like keep in mind with the whole Appaloosa thing is you want to generally make Galatea first so that you can bring it back later. It's like just extra value with Symbol. But also if you can have an extra lingering monster around, then you can go Harp into Symbol and make a second Galatea, which allows you to go for Dingirsu. If you don't have the extra monster, then there's no Dingirsu, but you can still do the play by just sending Symbol. That's like the general line to go for. So you're going to send Harp with the Orcust Nightmare and then the special Symbol. And then going off what we just said, since we have a lingering monster, go ahead and summon our second Galatea. Bring back the first one by banishing the Symbol. And then you can go ahead and summon your Dingirsu and use this effect to reattach your Symbol. And finally, your Galatea will go ahead and shuffle back your harp, and then set your crescendo. So what we've achieved here is a board of 3 negations from Appaloosa, whichever rank 4 of choice, Omni negate off crescendo, and your whole board is protected by Dingirsu. So yeah, this allows you to get the benefit of the rank 4 as well as the protection with Dingirsu alongside Appaloosa, which I think like this combo, you know, it just ensures that all your negates can effectively be used if you need to against the specific matchup, which you know is pretty important if you're going to be making Appaloosa to begin with. So yeah, that's the one option. I'm going to rewind a bit and go back to the Curious Griffon play. Okay, so this last variation is one of Chick Perfume, which is the most resource intensive play in this entire video, which would require all 5 cards. However, this is one looking at things in a vacuum, which I'm not trying to imply at all which combos are more optimal or whatever. I'm just simply stating what you can do with given hands. So here we go. But 2, I want to point out that the other play that I showed with the Curious Griffon with like out this extender is inherently like it has some pros and cons to it that this one obviously doesn't, because you have to sacrifice some things and your hand has to be extremely crazy to be able to achieve everything. So I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get there. So I start off with our typical setup. I'm not really going to be explaining too much of this. I'm just going to be doing the same stuff that I've been doing the whole time. When you get to Nyarla, you're going to discard your extender if applicable. That's probably the best way to put it. And then use Nyarla's second effect to go ahead and search your Serenade Dance with the Martin that triggers. And then summon your Azathot on top of your Nyarla. Now you can be free from Ash, so you can now search yourself as the tiger. These two, your extender and your Azathot, go into the Nightmare Link 2, which goes into your Mermaid. Mermaid will pitch one of the 2 blanks, and it will summon yourself the Orcust Nightmare. You're going to scale your tiger and do all the stuff that I basically started off doing last time. Chick can go ahead and send whatever you want. Martin will go ahead and bounce the tiger. And then we're going to go ahead and make our Force Strix to search our plus card, which is the Zephyros, of course. You can pitch the Zephyros now off of Serenade Dance to be able to go into whichever Lunalight name that you wish. You're going to rescale your tiger and bring back whichever Lunalight name. So now you're at the point where you can go Curious. So you can go Machine, Beast Warrior, and a Winged Beast into your Curious right here. Curious will send now the caveats that I mentioned at the beginning about like being able to sacrifice certain things based on how many extenders you have is all predicated on if you decide to send specifically Eradicator, because of obviously you have an attribute stuff. So do keep that in mind, that if you want to send a different thing, you can play this a little bit differently. But I'm going to showcase Eradicator since that's the card that I typically went for in my combo. So you're going to mill 3 off Curious. This generally doesn't matter. It only matters if you mill like every single Orcust again, but there are ways around it actually, because you don't utilize Symbol in this combo line anyway, so it's not the biggest deal. But you're gonna go ahead and summon your Griffon here by pitching your last blank, setting your Eradicator. You do get another draw to refresh that, so that's pretty nice there. Yeah, so at this point, you have not used your Zephyrs, so you are free to do that. Bounce Tiger, scale, and then bring back the other Lunalight name that you wish. And then now you can banish your Orcust Nightmare to send your Harp, which you'll banish to summon your Symbol. And then from here, you can do some interesting plays. So you can use the Mermaid and the Symbol. I'm just going to showcase a line that's different from what we were doing before. You can summon Galatea with those 2. And then from here, you're going to have to summon a Dark Xyz monster, a Dark rank 4. So like Nightmare does the job here. And you will not be able to utilize Symbol in this combo if you go for that, which is why I'm saying like you're sacrificing that if you want to go for the rank 4. But in exchange, you can use Galatea to shuffle this back and get yourself a Babel. And then you can go for your Dingirsu because you still need to tribute it off for Eradicator, and then you can attach your Orcust Nightmare. So what you're effectively ending up doing is you're giving up the Crescendo in exchange for a symbol send, or Dingirsu send off the symbol on your opponent's turn. You have Nightmare and Griffon, and your opponent is gonna have all their spell cards destroyed, so that's nice. The thing that you can do if you don't want to do the rank 4 play is basically the same thing as the other combo. So if we backtrack all the way to, what was it? We used this, we backtrack to here basically. This is also banished, and this isn't here yet. So at this point, you can opt to go for something like a Galatea. If you want to use Eradicator, you have to get rid of your Mermaid, of course. And then you can go for a second Galatea, or Longirsu, whatever you want. And then Symbol would revive the first Galatea, and then you would put Symbol on top of this one, and then attach the Symbol. And then this Galatea can get either Babel or Crescendo. So now you have like live stuff, but you'll notice that the Zephyrs is kind of just sitting here. It doesn't add anything to the combo. There's not really a whole lot we can really do with it. So it's kind of, it is not really much of a point in having it there. So like you might as well just not have had the extended beat to begin with, which is, you'll notice, this exact same combo as we did with, you know, just Chick Perfume without the extender. So it all depends on what approach you want to take. It is entirely up to you, and there are some combos where you can opt to make Tornado Dragon and pop your own Tiger. I generally don't advise doing that because Tiger's your follow-up, and if your board manages to be cracked by like certain blowout cards, like maybe, I don't know, a Sphere Mode or like a straight Super Poly or something, you want to be able to have Tiger as a contingency so that you don't, you know, lose the grind game instantly. So like I don't recommend popping your Tiger in a lot of cases, simply because I just value it too much, since it is, you know, how you keep going with at least 3 extra bodies on board for your next turn. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this combo, and that's gonna be it for actually all the combos in this video. This one is structured, as you noticed, a lot differently from the other in-depth combo video, but I hope that I still provided enough clarity and depth in the combos that I produced today. If you guys did enjoy this video, thank you guys very much for watching, first of all. If you guys did enjoy this video, which I hope you did, you can leave a like and let me know. Also, feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more styles of videos similar to this style. I am very informative, thorough, and in-depth, and I pride myself on those things. And if you subscribe, you'll see more videos just like this. Please do leave more feedback, constructive criticism, or just any general thoughts about the video in the comment section down below. I would love to read them, and I generally respond to everything. And once again, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys!